Great. All right. All right, everybody, if you would very kindly close your eyes, gently close your eyes, take a deep breath in, and we're going to say the prayer of connection. Dear Mother, Father God, divine, infinite spirit, source of all that is, I ask to be connected to you, to my higher self, and to the higher self of all here present. I ask for the assistance of the angels, the archangels, the ascended masters, the Reiki masters, but most especially Master Jesus, Master Buddha, Master Kutumi, St. Francis, St. Germain, St. Gabriel, St. Raphael, St. Michael, the Blessed Mother, the Divine Feminine, Mary Magdalene, Moses, Metatron, Melchizedek, Mohammed, and Kuan Yin. I ask that we be cleared, centered, aligned, balanced, and grounded, and that whatever come in for each of us come in for our highest good. I also ask to be a clear channel of light for Metatron and his healing angels so that we each receive the highest vibrations of light possible. I also ask for the assistance of the great rays, the lords and masters of the rays, and the archangels of the rays. And finally, for the shield and sword of St. Michael the Archangel to protect our energy field above, below, side to side, front to back, inside and outside. I ask all of this in the name of Jesus the Christ and in the name of I am. And first, I would like to welcome you. This is, we're already, believe it or not, we're already in the month of February, the month of love. January seems to have flown by, but that's every month. I'm getting exactly the same reaction, you know, go from day to day, week to week, month to month. I kept trying to find a theme for this year, and I couldn't seem to quite find it. And then it just gelled for me. What I'm going to do is concentrate on one chakra, but give a lot of information on that chakra. And today we're going to start at the bottom. We're going to start at the foundation. We'll start at the root chakra and build up. And so any information that, let's say I might be on a particular section and you feel, yeah, but I also know this. Raise your hand. I'll call on you, or wave or something. Get my attention. And I am more than happy to have additional information brought forward. This, even though I've talked about the chakras all my life, my spiritual life, I haven't done it quite this way. And I've got 4 pages of notes. I started preparing for this days ago. So I hope that, and at the end, I'll be asking you to tell me, was there anything I should have covered that pertained to the root chakra that I didn't cover? And so I can add it in for next time, because ultimately I want to make this into a class. Like I did my channeling class, like I did my energy class. I'd like to make the chakras a class. So we're going to start with just the visual representation of a chakra. 7 tubules, spinning tornadoes, 7 tubules of light coming from your spinal column. Crown, they would be coming from your cranium. Third eye, they'd be coming from your pineal. They'd be attached to your pituitary or pineal gland. And I think it's the pineal that they're attached to. the throat, heart, solar plexus, sacral, root. I'm sorry, not the root, not the root. All the interim ones are coming from the spine, going front and back. The root, the one we're concentrating on today, has 5 exit points: front and back, side to side, straight down. So you can access the root chakra from any one of those exit points. And so, because remember, this front is your conscious mind, your back is your subconscious mind. I also want to mention that you have 7 major chakras, but you do have an 8th one that's opening up. It's been known as either the thymus or the high heart, and it connects on your body between your heart and your throat, but it also connects above. That's why it's your 8th chakra. So it's like a bridge between high heart and a chakra above. And that will be the last one that I'll cover this year. We're also going to deal with, as best as we can, the emotional and the mental components of the root chakra. Every single month, like I said, a major chakra will be discussed. And it only makes sense that the root chakra, chakra number 1, is where we start. And also, you've got to remember that, Jane, you're muted, honey.
You said every month we're going to be discussing a chakra.
Correct.
So does that mean we're only going to discuss the root chakra today?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because I want an in-depth analysis of this so that you constantly remember, you can bring it forth, the memory of it, very quickly. Does that make sense? Okay, great. Yeah, because I wasn't clear on that in the directive that went out, because like I said, this was still kind of gelling in my mind as to what I should do. I wasn't quite clear what my guides wanted me to do and everything. So anyway, there, Jane?
And could you then go over the 5 exit points?
Oh, sure, of the root. Absolutely. Yeah. All right. So because it's at your base, the base of your spine, it goes straight down. It exits at your hips, right and left. It exits at your front and your back, forward and back. So straight down, side to side, front and back. So anywhere you touch the body in that area, and bear in mind when you're, I always ask for permission to touch, before I do. And if I'm with a member of the opposite sex, I usually hover about an inch above. For a female, I might go down closer to the body, but for a male, I'll usually hover about an inch above. They will get the exact same effect if I'm giving them Reiki. They'll feel it. Okay, thank you. Along with the root chakra, you have a subtle body. And the subtle body in this case has a special name. It's called the etheric body. The etheric body is an exact template of your physical body. It can be anywhere from 3 to 6 inches away from your physical body, but for most people, it's 3 inches away. So the etheric body is the source of phantom pain. You might lose an arm, you might lose a leg, you might lose, a finger, something like that, but yet you feel pain in that area. That's because of your etheric body, because it's an exact template of your physical body. And it, gives you the same sensations as if you still had all that, the members of your physical body. I know, well, I'm not going to talk about that, but somebody lost a nose once. And because he was one of those who climbed Mount Everest and got caught. And so he had a new nose built on his forehead. But he said, here, he felt like his nose kept running. It wasn't running. There was no nose here, but yet that's what he felt. So, and that makes sense, because it's an appendage and it's part of your physical, it's part of your etheric body. All right. One of the things that Wanda has said, and I'm not exactly, I don't know how to explain this, but she said the root is the last one of the chakras to open. And maybe after I finish with this, we can understand why it's the last chakra to open. Obviously, the characteristics of the root chakra is that, let's see. Well, I don't know if you'd call it characteristics. What lives in the root chakra? What does it affect? It affects the skeleton. So it affects all your bones. What covers the skeleton is the skin. So it affects your skin. And this is what I found out too, that I knew it, but you kind of sometimes forget. It affects your immune system. So those of you who, and it seems like I keep running into more and more and more people that are have immune problems. That is part of the root chakra. Now, what's involved in the root chakra? What are the mental characteristics of the root chakra? First is, in terms of mental, safety and security. Your survival skill, your safety, your security comes from your background. If you were raised, let's say, in an area of the country like California that might be subjected to earthquakes, tremors on a consistent basis, even mild tremors, you might not feel that the earth is a very stable place to be, because it's always kind of feeling like it's shifting under your feet. Right now, what do we have in California? Wildfires. And then right behind the wildfires, what comes next? Mudslides because of torrential rains. Not a whole lot of safety and security in that. But anyway, most people who live in California love California and would never live anyplace else, no matter what. Survival skill, just feeling that you can make it on your own. And for women, this is critical because I know that there was a time, I don't know if it still exists, in my mind it doesn't, but maybe it still does, that women were treated as objects that needed to be cared for and that they didn't have the ability to take care of themselves. The world wars changed that. Absolutely threw that out because women had to take over men's jobs when the men went to war. And so there was a huge paradigm shift on, can women take care of themselves? the picture of Rosie the Riveter, you know, putting her arm like that. That just, I mean, that influenced a whole huge generation of women. And I once heard the phrase, and I love this phrase: any woman who thinks a man will take care of her the rest of her life without having her own ability to take care of herself has been eating too much popcorn at Disney World. It was first, of course, it was Disneyland, but then Disney World. So this is why I, at first, thought, well, geez, when they say women's work is never done, they're not kidding, because you know, you not only have the role of mother, sometimes, and caregiver, and but then if you have a full-time employee, then you're full-time cook and seamstress and maid, and you know, everything else under the sun. And sometimes it really felt like it was like women were just being completely shortchanged. But I have noticed, as I've gotten older, how many women are making their sons equally responsible for chores. My grandson started making a bed when he was 2. So, and because his parents bought uh, an investment in Socrates, and it had certain rooms to let. So she let her 2-year-old help her make the bed, and I really appreciated that, because I thought, you know, I think this generation of what's women's work versus what's men's work is fading fast. Some men hate outdoor work. Some women love it. So I had one of my former neighbors who would get really get upset if you walked into her garage and say, "Oh my God, look at all these tools your husband has." She would be very adamant about, "Those are my tools. That's my tractor. That's my snow blower." She's the one who did all the outside work. He hated it. So anyway, but that that is survive. That's part of survival skills. Providing for life's necessities. If you've been raised to think independently, you will, again, not have any issues with thinking that what I can take care of my basic needs, no matter what that is, whether I'm with someone, whether that someone passes, then I'm on my own, whatever it is. And I feel that most of us who, ever, at least in the clients that I've been happy to counsel, I have yet to run into one of them who doesn't have an outside job. So I just feel women are absolutely being prepared to provide for life's necessities. And another absolutely important mental skill: standing up for yourself. And part of that is setting boundaries. There are some people that just get run over by family members, just get, uh, you know, bulldozed, I guess is the best way I can put it. And standing up for yourself, or making a declaration of what you will accept, won't accept, and leaving the scene if that boundary is crossed, that is critical. That's critical for you being exactly where you need to be as a female who is rightfully standing in her own power. emotional needs. Let's go into the emotion. Feeling at home on planet Earth. This might sound a little strange to you, but I have met too many of them that are members of a different planetary system to even begin to question, how is that possible? Of course it's possible. There are facets of you that, and Teresa covered this beautifully, about a couple weeks ago, last month, she covered it beautifully, going into a room and looking at mirrors and seeing different facets of yourself. You are an ET. You are an angel. You are an archangel. You are from another planet. You are a dragon. You are an elemental. So you have many, many facets of yourself. And I always, if we're on the subject, I will tell people, in the event you open the door and there's an ET standing in front of you, I will almost guarantee you, in fact, I can guarantee you, because that's what I'm hearing, that is you standing in front of you. So do not freak out, do not be upset, do not go into nervous tremors and feel the world is coming to an end. Not necessary, because this is coming into our sphere probably sooner than later. So I think that's one of the reasons I've been asked to cover it. But what happens to people who came in from a different planetary system? In one case, the gal I know, I feel absolute empathy for her. She's allergic to everything. She's allergic to our air. She's allergic to our food. She's allergic to the chemicals. She has chemical sensitivity. She's allergic to everything. She doesn't feel comfortable with it. That's an extreme case. Most of the time, people can adapt, but they have this queasy or queer or strange feeling like, I don't belong here. This isn't home to me. And they're absolutely correct. This is not home. Their planetary system may have been Pleiades. It might have been Sirius. It might have been Arcturian. It might have been Andromeda. It might have been Orion. Their planetary system or it could be the angelic realm. I met a gal who made horrible decisions for herself. And as I looked at her, I just kind of go, my God, you're from the angelic realm. And she goes, how can I be? And I said, because you love everyone. You love, and you're so empathetic to other people's needs. She invited an alcoholic to come into her home to live with her because he was going to trade his skills in place of giving her room and board. I mean, in place of giving her money for room and board. He was going to upgrade her home. Problem is, he took the room and board, didn't do the upgrades because his addiction took over. So anyway, she made horrible decisions for herself, but she was from the angelic realm. She absolutely felt so that her heart just melted for anybody else's problem and everything. And again, if you have this queasy feeling or this sense that I came from a whole different system, like I might have been Lemurian. What's Lemuria? The Hawaiian Islands. Those are the tips of the mountains that when the continent sank into the ocean, that's what Hawaii is. That's the islands. Or Atlantis, that you might have come from Atlantis. Some of you have very, very strong ties to Egypt. And the last group of Atlanteans, I think Plato wrote about them 10,000 years before the continent fully sank. The last group migrated over to Egypt. And so you might have memory of that and everything. Does that make you odd? Does that make you weird? No, that makes you exceptional. That makes you able to relate to others who are in the same boat. And it makes you able to absorb information quickly. Like, I have tremendous interest in Drunvalo Melchizedek's work, The Ancient Secrets of the Flower of Life. I've read each book twice. I feel the information is given to me as I need it, but can I spout it back to anybody? Not really, you know. So, but chances are, if you were from Atlantis, you could do that. All right. Emotional, feeling emotionally supported. If you chose wisely when you came here, if you chose your parents, if you took the time to evaluate the souls of the family that you were going to incarnate, and you chose wisely, you will have been emotionally supported. If you were too hasty in your decision, you came here too fast, you didn't give enough time to really consider it, because ultimately the higher self and your council of 12 will help you make this new lifetime, but ultimately you as the soul has the final say on who you're going to incarnate, and when. So if you don't feel that you were emotionally supported, or if you feel you were battered, if I mean, I've had some clients that felt that they were almost battered within an inch of their life as babies, because they just, had experiences from people who somehow or other in their confusion in their mind saw them as the enemy. And so anyway, they then you've had more difficulty. You've had more difficulty acclimating. But if you are emotionally supported, you have drives, you have skills, you have attitudes, and you have achievements, and you've had help with that. Okay. Physical dysfunctions in the root chakra. There's a lot of them. I was surprised at how many, because I thought there was just a couple, but there's not. First of all, chronic back pain. Chronic back pain is something that almost every single employee on the face of this earth at some point has had chronic back pain. And there's been more loss of employment because of chronic back pain. Lower back. The lower back is where the is the portion that is most associated with the root chakra. Sciatica. I've run into tons of people who have had sciatica. Recently, I've come down with it. So it was suggested to me that I look up Louise Hay's emotional reason for this physical dysfunction. Fear of the future. And I can honestly say that, yes, I don't know, I'm hearing 10 years, it could be 5, it could be 1, it could be 2. My life will change drastically because my husband is in failing health. And so I know that everything that I've gotten accustomed to, everything that I've counted on, may not be there. And I have to willingly give go on to a new place. So that's sciatica, fear of the future. Rectal cancers and rectal tumors, anything to do with the rectum, is related to the root chakra. Interestingly enough, more people are coming down with that since the last 8 years than I've ever heard before in my life. So I find that kind of intriguing. This is one that I was surprised. Depression. Depression has its cause in other chakras too, but a major one is the root chakra. The depression just gives people a feeling of hopelessness. And it's the lack of hope that is just so difficult. And so, in it's like one of the gals described it to me. She said, I don't ever want to get up before 11 o'clock in the morning because I don't ever want to have more than an hour to wait for lunch and I can skip breakfast. So that for her, somehow or other, helped her with her depression. The immune disorders. There's a list of immune disorders. Some may agree with these, some may not have ever heard of them. The first one, never heard of it until my neighbor came down with it. I should say my neighbor's child. Still's disease. It attacks all the organs in your body. It's like your body is devouring itself. All the inner organs are fighting with each other, and that's called Still's, Still apostrophe S. Lyme's disease. We've had huge inroads into Lyme's disease, and to the point where there are certain doctors who are just specializing in Lyme's disease because of the fact that they are not feeling that, first of all, the medical industry is taking the symptoms seriously enough, and there's never there's not enough protocols available to help people with Lyme's. MS, multiple sclerosis. When I was growing up, never heard of MS, and as I got older and older, MS just regularly hit the circuit. And there are some actors that have come down with MS and that brought it to the forefront. Lupus. I know that one of my friends that I studied A Course in Miracles with in the 90s, her daughter, age 12, came down with lupus when she discovered that her parents were going to divorce and they would have to give up the townhouse that they were living in. And unfortunately, her lupus led to kidney failure. So that became kind of, a snowball for her. COVID, long COVID, not COVID, but long COVID as an anti-immune disorder. And I do have one person I know that has long COVID. She spends her days on the couch. She says even getting up from the couch to get a glass of water absolutely tires her out, weakens her. I can't imagine living a life like that, but it happens. The other one, last one, Crohn's disease. Now, I don't know much about it, but I did know an attorney whose 28-year-old daughter committed suicide because she couldn't stand the pain anymore from Crohn's disease. And then I know another woman who has passed 70. She's lived with Crohn's disease from very early on. And a young gal who came in as a client this morning also came down with Crohn's disease at age 12. And when we did an analysis of, in her situation, what might have caused it, she realized it was an issue of control, that she was constantly trying to control the situation in her life. Let's see. Okay. I think, oh, and type 1 diabetes. I just Googled it and to see, okay, is there anything on Google that I haven't uh, picked up? That's not in my list. Almost everything was on my list except type 1 diabetes. I had never heard of type 1 diabetes being a autoimmune disorder that was related to the root chakra, but there it is. It said, no, that, and many people, type 1 is probably the easiest of the diabetes to control because it can be controlled by pills. And it does have pills and diet will absolutely take care of type 1. Well, absolutely. There's no absolutes about anything. But anyway, so you come a long way to helping that. Okay. So now this is where we are going to go into some journaling, but I want to give you some prompts. First of all, distortions in your root can come from your earliest memories. And of all the things that I've covered, not being supported by family members or being overly glorified by family members can cause problems with the root chakra. So your earliest memories can be, think back on some of the words that you heard that might ring back through your mind. And when I just started to write, I started to put down, you are no good. You will never measure up. In one case, one of my fellow ministers said what she railed against was her mother always saying about her, she's my quiet one, as if she didn't have a voice. And she did have a voice. She did have a lot to say, but she was never asked. Nobody encouraged her to say it. So she just railed against that. But also, you could have been glorified. You could have been told, you are so beautiful. You are so kind. You are so gentle. You're curious. You are so creative. You could have come from a home where your talent was appreciated and you said about your future, you have so much to offer, or you're so clever, you are a virtuoso. Granted, Mozart started composing when he was 4. He obviously chose a family to incarnate into that also had the ability to take that talent and to uh, encourage it. And I think by the time he was somewhere between 4 and 8, he was actually playing in front of the courts in Europe. Sometimes our abuse came from mentally, emotionally, physically, or sexual abuse. Sometimes our parents set horrible examples for us. You could be suffering from a sense of abandonment. I know one of my friends, she said her father went to war when she was 2, died, never came back. Her mother died when she was 21, where she was just starting adulthood. She was born overseas. She was here in the United States, and her mother died overseas. And then she always carried this guilt that she wasn't there for her last time. But the sense of abandonment. Then her first husband abandoned her. I mean, it just can't carried through from theme to theme. Sometimes they were not a support for you because they teased you unmercifully. Teasing can be a form of torture, just like physical tickling can be a form of torture, so can teasing, because they may have mocked you for anything that you wanted to say, anything you wanted to do, anything that was important to you, they bashed you for it. In the sense of, you know, oh, well, you're too sensitive, just making light of what was important to you. Sometimes they sought to be extremely critical of you, thinking they were helping you become better, a better person. My husband tells me the story that every single time he had an aunt whose child, she had one son, and as a teenager, if he brought home an A minus, that was not good enough for her. He ended up killing himself at age 15 by hanging himself from the garage, in the garage, from a rafter in the garage. So really, that's an extreme example, but that happens, where it's like it doesn't matter how hard you try, how good you were, that they may have bashed you for it. Sometimes your parents may have fought incessantly. So you hear all the arguing, and that undermines your sense of stability because you never know, are my parents going to divorce? And so that's always in the back of your head. Sometimes mothers or fathers could be cold and indifferent. And that is very, very damaging. Other times, a parent could be, or somebody that you absolutely loved, admired, look up to, could be hypocritical, could be one person to the public, another person at home. Some families, even those that are, I can remember, I think I read this statement maybe 10 years ago when one of the major players in I think it was the Nixon administration, when he passed away. And so the grown son said, so many people came up to him and said, your father was such a great man. He did this and this and this and this. And and the son thought about it and he said, I never knew my father. My father was always gone. So the son decided to research the father's history to see exactly what the father had accomplished. So in that case, basically, the child was brought into the world, but not given any support by the father because the father had his own agenda, and that was to be a world savior. So that's always a possibility. All right. Now, to heal your chakra through forgiveness, because that's the title of the speech. And some people have asked me over the years, how do you forgive? How do you know you've forgiven someone? And the best explanation I can give you is when you think about them, there's no charge left. There's no emotional or physical or visible or anything inside of you that makes you feel, oh my God, this person, I don't want to be anywhere near this person. I don't want to see this person. I don't want to have anything to do with this person. I don't want to think about this person. If you can just get to neutral ground. So it's just walking on the face of this earth, feeling that the earth underneath you supports you completely neutrally. Then you know you have forgiven them. That's the best way that I can describe how you know you've forgiven someone. In order to forgive, first of all, you have to own the feeling. How do you own the feeling? You've got to feel it. And I had a psychology professor once say that most neuroses and psychoses in this world are there because people were unwilling to feel their pain for 20 minutes. And that made a huge impression on me. Feel your pain for 20 minutes. That is not a long time. So take this and take this time, and I'm going to give you, and you can, I'm going to give you some suggestions on how to feel the pain. You can sit there, and I'm going to time it for 20 minutes so that you can do any one of these things. You can, and I'm just going to go through the list. You can feel the rage, you can feel the bitterness, you can feel the betrayal, the hurt, the sadness, the aloneness, anything that you need to feel, and then what to do about it is going to come next. But for 20 minutes, I want you to just go into the pain and feel it. So it would be best, or can we do this together? Okay, since I've never given this class before, I'm going to attempt, and because I don't know how much time it's going to take. I'm going to say, I probably have a 2.5 hour class, and I have an hour and a half to give it. So we're going to combine this with what it is that we should do to counteract that rage. So take 10 minutes to feel the rage, the bitterness, the betrayal, the hurt, the sadness, the aloneness, and then to overcome it, you can dance, believe it or not, just by moving your body. And it doesn't have to be anything except hopping up and down. You can feel pain emerging from your body. Takes 10 minutes at least to get to that point. You can scream, you can pound a pillow, you can pretend you're sitting in a flowing stream, you can sink your body to the bottom of the ocean, you can go up to the highest mountain and sit against ice and cold because that's how you feel and that's what you want. Or you can be in community with your higher self. So 10 minutes for each exercise. But because we are, I want this to be private, you probably will have to mute your video, keep, and then at the end, we'll give feedback as to what happened, what you experienced. I will tell you when 10 minutes is up and you're to go on to the next section of it, because we're, like I said, we're at 12:53 already. So we're going to go into the feelings first. We're going to feel the rage, bitterness, the betrayal, the hurt, the sadness, any type of alone, any type of unevenness of emotions. So just shut your video off, take your video off, and go into those feelings. And I'll let you know when 10 minutes is up. And ideally, you need to do this for 20 minutes. And now you're going to take 10 minutes and with the intent of forgiving these feelings of rage and bitterness and betrayal and hurt and sadness and anything else that may have come up, you're going to take action, and whatever works for you. If you need physical, you're by yourself and you need to pound a pillow, race through the room, you can visualize sitting in nature. You can visualize sitting by a flowing stream. Visualize, like I said, sinking to the bottom of the ocean, sitting at the top of Mount Everest, or walking in community with your higher self. So take 10 minutes to do that, and then we'll come back and finish up the exercises. And now I'm going to move on to forgiving your past. In A Course in Miracles, forgiveness, forgiving, some form of forgive is mentioned 2,578 times. It's mentioned more than any other word. Obviously, this is not easy, but it's necessary. Forgiveness is one of 3 major reasons why we come to planet Earth. This I received from my conversation with God when I was writing my first book, God is the Biggest Joker of All. God said that you come to the planet Earth to learn to forgive, to learn to love unconditionally, and to learn to serve your fellow man. Obviously, if you're going to learn to forgive, you need something that to forgive, something that does you in. And one of the things, as I listen to people's sad stories, I have to remind them and myself that we agreed to all the major experiences as a soul before our journey back here. This is a temporary blip on our plane of incarnation. My son, probably, I think he was 12, either he was 9 or 12, and he pointed to an area about 60 feet long, and he said, Mom, he said, on the word infinity, if infinity was this length, 60 feet, then my lifetime would be the width of an atom, which I thought was pretty astute for a young little man. And then he said, why would I be punished for eternity for a space of time so small? And I thought about it and I thought, why indeed? So a lot of wisdom in that young mind. And so I just feel that from everything that I've studied, that all of the major circumstances of our life we agreed to before we incarnated, not the minor ones. The minor ones are day, every thought that comes out of our head. But the major ones, we agreed to them. And so, on some level, eventually we come to the conclusion there's nothing to forgive because I agreed to this. Why did you agree to it? It could be karmic balance from a previous lifetime. Sometimes you can figure that out through, I've had past lives come in. And again, remember, past life is a misnomer. Anything in the past, the present, the future is all one giant now. And so but if you forgive something from the past, it alters the past, it alters the present, it alters your future. And that is so important for you to be able to go on to a better life, a better existence, because it's hysterical how much when we leave this plane, how much we take with us. I had a young gal come in yesterday, and she wanted to reach both her mother and father in spirit. And so I asked the name of the father, and she gave it to me, and I said the father's name, and then I said, would you like to say something to your daughter? And he goes, hell no. And I thought, really? That's what I have to pass on to her? But I pass on what I heard, and I said, your dad just said, hell no. She started laughing, and she said, he's a jokester. He's a jokester in spirit. He was a jokester on earth. That's exactly who he was. He made fun of everything. And then when I tried to reach her mother, just to see if her mother had anything to say to her, I heard the words, "I'm busy." And again, she started laughing and she said, my mother must have said, "I'm busy," all her life because she always had something going. So, yes, did I tap into those two people? Absolutely. Did they want to pass on anything to their daughter? Not at that moment in time. But that doesn't mean that she can't get information for herself when she goes into meditation. So you can reach everything. If you want to know what the reason is for having experienced this god awful thing that you've always been so sorrowful about, ask your guides, ask them to tell you, and just tell them that if you don't feel I can handle it in 3D, give it to me in a dream, or have it come to me when I'm being massaged, or I'm in acupuncture or chiropractic, some kind of energy work, or having Reiki done. Have it revealed to me why I agree. Because for some people, it's very important to know. They want to know, why did they agree to this? So, and others don't care. But another thing you don't want to do is you don't want to drag that experience to have to repeat it in another lifetime. That is critical. You just don't want that. So forgiveness is your avenue, your way, the absolute best way for you to absolve yourself of any future tie to that action. As I said, how do you know you've forgiven something? I've come to the conclusion because I struggled with this so badly with my first husband, because even though I was only married 6.5 years, there were so many ugly scenes in that marriage. And I finally recognized when I could think of him and there was no emotional charge, that I didn't feel any prickles. I didn't feel hot and cold. I didn't feel, like a lump in my throat. I didn't look at my eyes in the mirror and see such sorrow in my eyes. I realized I had passed. I had gotten to the point where I had forgiven. And it was so amazing to me. And that was placed in my life because obviously the spirit knew in my future I would have to deal with people who were holding on to stuff, and that was a disaster to them. So uh so I could help them move through it by having had to go through it myself. Let's see if there's anything else. How to forgive: let it go, besides what I've already told you. um, you know, you will know it's done when there's no emotional charge, no triggers. That if somebody even mentions the word, a word related to what you experienced, that all of a sudden you don't go into kind of a attack mode. Because what are you attacking? You're attacking your own body. And that is not what you might think you're doing, but that's exactly what you're doing. And unresolved hate, fear, bitterness, anger is going to turn into issues with your body. That's the long and short of it. So um, I just feel that, to me, forgiveness is kind of at the top of my list. Uh, and also, as my life changes and let's say somebody's doing something new that never used to annoy me, but now annoys me and everything. Then I have to reevaluate all over again. Why is this triggering me? Why should I, and how can I let this go? That's so important to ask that. How do I let this go? Sometimes it's just the words I get from my guides. Don't pay attention to it. Ignore it. Just, it doesn't matter what the other person is yelling, cursing, screaming, what they're involved in. Ignore it. It's not your issue. Don't make it your issue. So anyway, let's some of the life lessons that we learn from the exercises like this is how not to be afraid of taking the next step. Some of us are meant to be teachers, and there are people that I run into all the time that eventually will make great teachers, but at the moment they feel completely inadequate. So they, and then I have to reassure them that they're going to be fine. They're just going through some stuff. Sometimes it's a matter of setting boundaries. Sometimes it's a matter of following your own path. And sometimes it's being able to choose something for the betterment of mankind. So anyway, what I'd like you to do now, oh, well, we have 4 minutes left. We won't have time to write, but if you could just share any, because there's just a few of us left on the screen. Teresa had to go help somebody in her garage. So if we could just share maybe at least one thought that came through you with this exercise. I feel I still have some work to do on this, but I think I'm on the right path. Choosing one chakra, concentrating on one chakra is better than trying to cover the whole gamut and everything. So Jane, any thoughts that you'd like to share?
First of all, I'm so glad I was here, and it was perfect for me. And the root chakra, the things that it was things I've been working on for a long time.
Great.
Forgiveness and my childhood, actually.
Yeah.
My childhood. And while you're here, it's forgiveness, to learn to forgive, to learn to serve. And what was the other one?
To learn to love unconditionally.
Thank you.
So those were the 3 that came in from God when I was having a conversation with God.
Right.
Okay. Laura, how about you? Thank you, Jane. Appreciate that. Unmute yourself, hon.
Sorry. Yeah, I have to say too that this went back to things that I've been working on for a long time, and I ended up having to work on forgiveness for somebody that I thought I had forgiven, but and actually the key was what you first said about the distortion coming from your earliest memories. And so I went back because I do have some conscious memories from my infancy. So I went back and tried to sort of make sense of that and started to get feelings that I wasn't aware of, because as an infant, you don't have words for feelings.
Right.
And all of a sudden, the movie reel just kept spinning and connecting the dots to incidents that had happened throughout my lifetime that were all connected to a feeling that I couldn't identify that I had as a baby. I thought I had really done forgiveness work on this, but clearly there's still more to be done. And the other thing I wanted to say was that I chose to envision myself sitting on a rock in the middle of the stream, and the stream washing all of it away.
Great.
And it just seemed for a while that as much as was washing away, more would come rushing into my consciousness. And then I thought, oh, she said you could work with your higher self. And immediately my higher self came and lifted me up out of the stream and surrounded me with light.
Lovely.
So,
Lovely. Thank
some
you.
good tools for me to keep working with.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Because I'm going to make this into a 2.5-hour class
Mhm.
and offer it. But I realized, okay, this is a beginning. It's a beginning here. Thank you. Elizabeth, how about you?
Well, thank you so much for doing this, Alice. It's wonderful as always. For me, I feel like you're absolutely right. And it's a constant work in progress, working on self-forgiveness and forgiveness of others.
Yeah.
And more layers come in to be forgiven. And I feel that it's one of the major keys of finding inner happiness and opening the doors to greater unconditional love. So it's a huge, huge, important thing we all need to work with. And so for me, I felt a lot of stuff just coming out through the bottom of the root chakra, just like a flood of water. It opened up a tap and things just kept flooding out. And I couldn't identify everything, not that I needed to, but it just kept flowing and flowing and flowing. And that was liberating. I felt lighter after that. And I was first in an etheric waterfall on Bell Rock in Sedona, Arizona. And then I was in Mount Shasta. And then I was at Mount Everest. And then I was walking hand in hand with my higher self. And then I had the most interesting insight that basically we were going, my higher self and me, the two of us were like going to different portals, different pyramidal structures, the tips of pyramids. And it's as if I was shown that among the many sacred geometries in and of the earth, one of them is the Merkaba, and
Yeah.
that how the Merkaba is being held together through Merkaba lines and pyramidal pinpoints, etheric and physical, and some that are no longer physical, that are etheric, just holding all of humanity together for our ascension process.
Excellent.
And so that's what I was shown, and that was fascinating. So that's what my higher self took me on this journey to see.
Excellent.
I
Super.
don't know why that insight came, but it was part of my journey.
Well, isn't Merkaba something you're presenting next time you come on Rays of Healing?
I'm talking about the Mahatma energy next time, but I have talked about
okay.
the Merkaba before, but this was a different aspect of the Merkaba. This was the Earth Merkaba.
Oh, interesting.
And
Okay.
a spiritual vessel of ascension for humanity, or for all sentient beings of the earth.
Okay. Interesting. There was Elizabeth, this is long before, long ago, I'm going to say somewhere in the neighborhood of 15 to 20 years ago, that I found a pattern, a physical, paper pattern of the
Yes.
Merkaba. And I
Yes.
brought it to church, and 20 of us worked at making a paper Merkaba.
Yes.
So that was so intriguing to me, because I have a rose quartz crystal one that is on my end table.
Yes.
And occasionally I will pick that up. But the
I have.
Merkaba,
Yeah.
right, it's your individual spaceship.
Right.
That's what most people don't understand, and that would be a
Vessel,
great
right.
presentation if you
Exactly.
want to.
But this was the one of our planet.
Yeah,
And so I thought, wow.
yeah, that's fantastic. I think that's leading you to, or telling you, put this on your itinerary. This is coming next. So
Mhm.
anyway,
Yes.
all right. Well, thank you. That was wonderful.
Thank
And
you.
Joyce.
I really enjoyed doing that, to be truthful with you, and I can find a few more things that I need to work through. And
Good.
it was interesting because I kept finding more things, but it ran into different people. You know what I mean? It was not just the same person, or it was the magazines and the culture and how all those affected who I am in that area.
Yeah.
So I could still do some more work on that. And but when at first I was slapping people in the face. And I was like, I don't want to beat people up. I'm tired of being physical and wanting the violence and stuff, not violent, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then I was like, I tried to bring in the light to heal all that. And so that, and then the waterfalls, I tried to flush it out of my system. And so
Lovely.
I did.
Lovely. Thank you, Joyce. See, these comments are so valuable because it shows me that this a class like this is valuable. It is important, and anything to do with forgiveness is key to our growth and our ascension process, So anyway, thank you. Thank you. And Shireen. I don't know if she's there.
Hello,
Yeah,
can you
you
hear
are.
me?
Yay. Hallelujah.
So I actually didn't I have trouble visualizing, so I didn't actually have anything to say, but I did. Um I am considering doing maybe some Reiki or something to help me, because I feel as I'm not as advanced as all of you all have, being that you all have shared your stories and stuff. So I'm sorry, I have nothing to share at this time.
Well, that's okay, but you're here, and that means you're interested. So that's
Absolutely.
important. And yeah, you can go on my website and see the Reiki schedule. That I do teach Reiki, and I'm always I just love it, But anyway, Shireen, but thank you for that.
Thank you.
And it's 1:37, so thank you ladies for staying beyond the 1:30 time. I'm always a little bit nervous about not, because people have other things that they have to do, So I do try to stop on time and everything. So everybody have a great week, and the next time Rays of Healing meets, Elizabeth will be online. So looking forward to
Excuse me,
that.
Alice and Shireen, this is Donna. Shireen, were you saying that you would like to have a Reiki healing, or that you would like to take a class? Because Alice also does Reiki healing, and she can do it via Zoom or phone. If you want to stay on for a minute, I can put her website in the chat.
Okay, that'd be great. Thank you.
Oh, sure.
Okay. Thank you, Donna. All right, guys. Well, we will see you in, I think, Elizabeth, you're on
The 17th.
17th.
Yes.
Yeah, it just seems that because this started on the 1st, it seems like we're a week in advance, but we're not. We're right on time. So anyway,
Thank you
we will see
so
you
much,
soon.
Alice. It was
Thank you.
wonderful. Thank you.
Jay,
Much love to you and everyone.
thank you. Appreciate everybody being here. Thank you.